Over the last few years, it's become very clear that recency bias has become a major factor in the NBA. I'm not going to go too in depth into what it is, but in the most basic form, it's favoring things that happened recently over the past. One of the examples of this I've been seeing recently is hating on Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook is one of the players who really helped me develop my love for basketball, and over the last few years, and especially after this season and these playoffs, the hate has grown a lot. Starting originally as a player that everybody respected, to now somebody that many people hate. While there are some real problems with Westbrook, mostly due to his IQ and lack of a three-point shot, the hate is starting to get out of hand. Here's why. Drafted 4th overall by the Seattle Supersonics in 2008, Westbrook was never meant to play basketball. With his parents 5'7" and 5'8", Westbrook was never supposed to be as tall as he is today. Entering high school at only 5'8", Westbrook wouldn't play varsity until his junior year, and while he was able to surpass 6 feet before graduating, he was only rated as a 3-star prospect. His first year at UCLA, he was a backup point guard and barely accomplished anything. But in his second season, he would finally be able to prove himself, averaging 12 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists. With a good season behind him, Westbrook declared for the 2008 draft, along with his teammate Kevin Love, and they were drafted with the 4th and 5th pick respectively. Although Westbrook was drafted by the Sonics, on July 2nd, 2008, the team would relocate to Oklahoma City and rebrand as the Thunder. The team at the time was weak, but with young promising stars, Westbrook and Durant, and with Harden coming the next year, the future seemed bright. Westbrook started off his career very consistent. He played all 82 games in his first 3 seasons, and by the 3rd season, he was an all-star. He was one of the most explosive young stars in the league, but at the time was still a sidekick to Durant in most people's eyes. Until the 2015 season. Due to a bad injury, Kevin Durant would only play 27 games, and with Westbrook coming off an unhealthy season himself, he took it upon himself to carry the load. He led the league in points per game along with 7 rebounds and 8 assists per game. This was when people initially started to realize he was a superstar. From then on, Westbrook was one of the most loved and respected players in the league, despite his lack of a three-point shot and some poor decision making. He was still considered by most as one of the best guards and even best players in the league. Even with the return of Durant causing a milder year, it would be the last season with Durant on the team. After the move by KD to the Warriors in the 2016 offseason, fans around the league felt for Westbrook. Losing a teammate and a friend in the way that he did could not have been easy, but nobody knew how determined he really would be to win. The 2017 NBA season, as we all know, was the first season since 1962 that anyone averaged a triple-double, and Westbrook did it leading the league in points per game and shooting a career-high 34% from 3, which is actually respectable. It seems like people forget the level of dominance Westbrook had that year. He was the only consistent offensive player and carried his team to the 6th seed. Many people seem to say that he wasn't good because he lost in the first round, when his team literally just wasn't favored. James Harden was second in the MVP race that year, and I can see the arguments for him being the MVP, but the situation Westbrook was in was why he won. He just lost one of his best friends and teammates in one of the worst ways possible, and went from that to have one of the best statistical seasons ever, playing less than 36 minutes per game. The fact that he lost in the playoffs means really nothing. First of all, MVP is a regular season award, and even if the MVP is on the 1st seed and gets swept in the 1st round, they're still MVP. Also, from what I can remember, not many people were hating on Westbrook for losing at the time. Obviously, a lot of people believe Harden was MVP and that reinforced it to them, but I feel like now people use that as a point to say his MVP season actually wasn't very good. And if you find yourself as one of the people who think his season was overrated, look back at the highlights. Yes, he was stat padding, but also led the league in PER. Whether or not that means anything to you is not in my control. I'm just trying to show that Westbrook was great. It's hard to see how people have seemingly forgotten, considering how much of an inspiration he was for me. It goes beyond the MVP season. It's true that Westbrook has only gone downhill since then, but is that his own fault or the fault of the situations he's been in? The construction of the Thunder the last few seasons he was there was not ideal for him to succeed, and playing with James Harden is bad for any superstar. I made a video going in depth on that, and it'll be in a card about now and linked in the description. Westbrook in February averaged 33 points per game when Harden was struggling, and the Rockets without Harden are almost the perfect team for him. It's funny how short people's memories are, because after February it seemed like respect was coming back for him, but as soon as he underperformed in the playoffs, the hate got to a level it had never been before. If Westbrook ends up on a good team with good shooting and without Harden, he'll hopefully be able to prove himself again for NBA fans before his age catches up to him. Considering his playstyle is based on him being one of the most explosive players ever, when age catches up to him, it'll hit him hard. I'm not calling for people to be Westbrook fans because you can like what you want. I just want people to really think about what they thought about him in 2017 and before and think if the hate is really deserved. He was able to part ways with his team and leave it in a questionable situation at the time and still have respect from the fans. Russell Westbrook is one of the most exciting players we've ever seen play the game, and he doesn't get enough credit for what he's able to do. Where do you think Westbrook ranks amongst current point guards? Let me know in the comments. As always, if you like this video, leave a like. If you like this kind of content, subscribe, especially if you've watched this whole video to this point. Really, consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.